Hey guys, welcome back to the Shack. Last week I did a video on all the different radio options out there for civilians. Some of the pros and cons, and a little bit about each one of them. There's 5, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure. So what I'm going to do over the next few weeks is go into each one with some more specifics for you. If you want to follow along through this little series. So today we're going to get going. We'll start with CB and eventually we'll end with ham radio. It's a perfect day for it because the conditions are terrible. 95 on the solar flux and the sunspots are at 44. The sun is not cooperating for us amateur radio guys. Conditions, we call that, are not good. So I don't know how much we'll talk about that. That would be another video for another time. But if you are out there and you're a CBer or new to ham radio or something, and you're wondering why everything's dead, that's the reason. That's what that big old monitor up there is. Space weather determines what we cannot do, and how well we can do it. Lots of factors. Basically, the sun sends flares, solar storms, solar winds, all these things, and they all affect our atmosphere different. We got 3 levels, actually more than that. Let's just say we have different layers of the atmosphere. And the sun charges those up, the particles in them, that basically makes it a mirror depending on the angle of the sun. It's pretty complicated, but it basically determines what, when, where, and how our radio signals will bounce off. Why is that screen dimming? I don't know. And come back down to Earth for us to have conditions, or skip, as you would call it in the CB world. So grab something to eat, something to drink, and we'll be right back. This video is going to be on CB. I'll try to remember, no guarantees. I'll put the video I did last week in the first comment and pin it if you want to watch that. And then over the next couple weeks, like I said, we're going to go CB, MERS, FRS, GMRS, up to ham radio. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about each one of those. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, guys, let's talk about it. CB, that's an abbreviation for Citizens Band Radio. Once upon a time, extremely popular back when I was a kid in the 70s, early 80s, and even in the late 60s, it really took off. So it used to be a time where you had to have a license for that. It's basically, I got some notes up here, the original cell phone, the original social media. I still got one over here. If you can see it right here. It's on scan all the time. I got some locals that talk, and if 11 meters is open, 10 meters is open. I don't do a lot of CB, to be honest with you. I'll talk to the locals. I don't turn my nose up at it, but at the same thing, it's not really my stick anymore. So we'll get to that in a minute. What can I tell you about CB? Well, I guess I could just reiterate what I did in the other videos. So CB operates in the HF band, that is high frequency. There's 3 different categories of radio. High frequency, which is HF, VHF, very high frequency, and UHF, ultra high frequency, okay? It is in the 11 meter band, and all that really means is everything is a mathematical equation in radio. A radio wave, as it goes out your antenna, the signal, has some similarities to water. Like, think of a water wave, okay? A radio wave, of course, is an electromagnetic pulse that travels at the speed of light. But if you were to look at it, it looks like a wave, okay? That's why they call it a radio wave. I'll try to put a picture up there in that. And everything is a measurement. CB operates in what they call the 11 meter band. So I'll try to put this in here, but somewhere they measure. A radio wave has it comes out, it has a positive, a negative, a positive, and a negative. And it just keeps on going like that, like a slinky through the air. Well, they measure positive peak to positive peak. Well, in a CB, that measurement is 11 meters or 33 feet. Okay, and now it sends out a signal, a frequency, which your radio sends out, another radio hears and interprets. In the CB band, I got it up here, you have channelized frequencies. When you get into ham radio, everything has a channelized frequency except ham radio. We don't do channels. We just move around frequency to frequency and separate ourselves. But in CB and these other ones, the FCC has indicated where you will and you will not operate, although there's outlaws out there, right? So CB, you're supposed to use 4 watts AM, 12 watt sideband. There's people out there running tens of thousands of watts. We'll talk about that in a minute. But back to this, you have 40 channelized frequencies. Those frequencies are channel 1 is 26.965, channel 40 is 27.405. And all that means is that 11 meter wave, that 33 feet long wave, is cycling, traveling at, depending on what channel you're on, anywhere from 26.965 million times per second all the way to 27.405 million times per second as it goes through the air. All right, so that's all that really means. Your modes in CB, and when I say modes, we're talking legal modes, okay? We could be here all day going into the outlaw stuff, people talking up in the free band, they call it above channel 40, that used to be used for military. Now it's not really designated for nobody, but there's people up there. I'm just covering legal stuff that you're supposed to do. Whatever you do is up to you, I don't really care. But the legal modes in citizen band radio is AM, FM, and single sideband. Now, if you're not real young, you have probably know the difference between AM and FM on your car stereo. AM will travel quite a bit further. FM will not. I'm not going to go into why with bandwidths and everything like that. We'll be here forever. But FM sounds better, right? So in 2021, the FCC allowed FM use for citizens band radio, CB. I have never heard anybody talk on CB, FM. I'm sure somewhere someone is doing it, but the general public, I'm still a truck driver. I got the CB on all day. Never heard anybody on FM. Doesn't mean they're not, but I just don't think they understand it, or they're just, most guys out there, we'll talk about this in a minute, are just old school CBers and they're not interested in change. So we got AM, FM, and single sideband. Each signal, think of it like this, it's so wide, right, with a carrier in the middle. Now the single sideband just uses part of that whole radio wave so it can travel further think of a big guy versus a little guy. The little guy can outrun the big guy, so they just narrow down and use that single sideband. You can travel further. So the CBers out there left today, you have your old school skip shooters, what we're talking about. When you have conditions on CB radio, you can bounce to a certain degree. I mean, it's possible to talk worldwide, but 11 meters is not really the most friendly for that, but you can definitely do state to state. Then, of course, when you start getting like them where you're running thousands of watts, you're not supposed to, but they do it. You can sit there and shoot skip, they call it. And if you ever listen to those guys, they have a language all of their own. Breaker, breaker, I just got down, all that kind of stuff. If you're into that, cool. Now, the guys on sideband can do the same thing with less power and travel further. You're going to get even more, you're going to get further out because you're using less of that whole signal. You're only using part of it because it can bounce and travel further. Sidebanders on AM, it used to be, that was a pretty good crowd. I used to enjoy that. They're always kind of been, and still are on many levels, wannabe ham guys. They try to sound like ham operators, except they use things all wrong. Well, they do it their own way. Let's put it this way. They'll call CQDX, and they'll talk to anybody, one state away. Well, if you call CQDX in ham radio, and CQDX means out of your country only. So you would never answer. If I'm on the ham bands and there's someone in the United States calling CQDX, I would never answer that because I'm in the U.S. I'm not a DX station. So you would only answer if you're outside the country. But they either don't know or they don't get that or whatever. On CB, they'll just sit there and call CQDX. What they should be calling is CQ. And that means anybody, anywhere. Okay, you're not specifying. In ham radio, you'll hear CQDX or CQ 7 calls only, whatever. People trying to get contacts into certain areas, not just anywhere, anybody. So, but anyways, hey, they're in a transition period. It's great. It's funny to listen to them. I'm not here to make fun of nobody, but if you listen to the CB sidebanders, they really like to try to sound like they know what they're talking about. And to me, it's just cute, man. They'll try to give long-winded explanations on solar weather and stuff. And, how do I explain it? It's like a guy that wants to be a mechanic talking about car stuff, and there's a real mechanic listening, and you just can't help but laugh. I mean, I don't ever get in there and clown them, but hey, man, I encourage them. Come on, man. You're almost there. Come on over to the big leagues. We'll get to that someday down the road here when we get to ham radio. But not to knock you guys, but sometimes you guys want to sound like you're radio experts, but you're not quite there yet. Not that I'm an expert, but anyways, let's just move on, okay? Like I said, it was very popular. It's what the radio bug that bit me. My mom was into CB, not so much my dad, but my mom had in all her cars. She had a CB base station. Man, I was always in trouble for messing with it. I was just fascinated, and here I am 40 some years later, still. Look at all these radios back here. It's out of control. So I don't do much CB anymore, except like some of these local guys, I'll listen. I'll use that for a beacon if 11's open, 10's open. That's 10 meters is a ham band, 11 meters is for CB. In fact, 11 meters used to belong to the ham community, but we gave it up for the CBers. The FCC said, you guys got to give something up for CB. Anyways, I won't go into that whole story. That was before my time anyway. What are they going to say? Very popular back in the day, old school, man. There's a lot of old guys out there still shoot and skip, bless their heart. In today's world, other than those guys, there's just not much use. It's not popular amongst the general public. We live in a cell phone world, and those who might want radios for emergencies, people out hunting or traveling, and want to talk to each other, there's much better options, and we'll get to that in the pros and the cons in a minute. There's better options out there for the general public other than CB radio. Truck drivers, I've been a truck driver my whole life, up until, 10 years ago. CB was still pretty much king amongst the truck drivers. That has changed. Trucking's changed in general. We've got a whole new generation. We call them steering wheel holders. But they don't talk on CBs. They got earbuds. They don't want to talk on CB. In a lot of ways, I don't blame them. Because people have just got mean out there. I mean, they've always kind of been mean, but I'm Gen X. We have thicker skin. And on CB anymore, there's still like 2% of us. I got a CB. It's on 95% of the time. Sometimes I got to shut it off. Because there's guys out there shooting skip on Channel 19, and that didn't used to happen. They always had respect for truck drivers, and they got 39 other channels. They didn't need to sit there and tie up and tear up the channel we use to communicate with each other. But that's out the window. So they're out there screaming their junk and I got downs and all this stuff, and click, I turn it off. Most truck drivers have turned the radio off and just got rid of it because they don't want to hear that crap all day. And then they don't want to hear truck drivers yelling and screaming at them all day. So very few truck drivers even have CB anymore. So it's definitely on its way out, I would say. There'll probably always be some old school people, at least in my lifetime, that will still be out there. But if I'm honest, it is just not widely used anymore. So the pros and cons to the CB Citizen Band radio. One, cheap. I mean, of course, like anything else, you could spend thousands of dollars if you want to. But CB, Cobra 29 or whatever, they're like $100, $50 on, Craigslist, not even around, Facebook, Marketplace, whatever. You can get them cheap. Get a cheap antenna, get it hooked up. I mean, you're less than $100, you could have a CB going at home or in your car. Now, the downside to it is, for the people that want to just communicate, preppers or local or car to car, there's better options. For a CB, you got to have at least, probably a 3-foot antenna. I'm sure there's shorter ones out there, but they're not efficient, guys, because of the nature of the 11-meter band and the signal. It does not travel through buildings, vehicles, things like that near as well as like GMRS or FRS. So back when CB was king, people would run like 102-inch WIMP. That's like 8 feet long, right? Soccer moms don't really want 8-foot antennas whipping around on their cars no more. Okay, that was cool for like 5 minutes in the 70s, but it don't fly today. So just too big of antennas, very limited range. Even if you have a great radio and a good antenna, honestly, you're limited to 5 miles max. They just won't bend through obstacles. I mean, technically, you could go further than that. If you had nothing but fields and nothing to block the signal, yeah, get up to 20 miles. You're out in the desert, something like that. But mostly, you're talking a mile, maybe 2 miles. I can do that with a GMRS handheld inside my car. A little handheld. I don't need to mount nothing, no antennas on the car. So there's just way better things, technology's come a long ways. And CB is just, honestly, it's just the old rotary phone of the radio world. Is there still a use for it? Maybe some people might use it. But there's better options, like a cell phone. There are better options in the radio world than CB. So that's all I can say about CB, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope I didn't offend anybody. If you want to keep a CB and breaker, I just got down, go for it. I don't care. But in today's world, there's better options for unlicensed and or licensed radio stuff if you want to get into radio or get some backup communications. CB would definitely be on the very, very bottom of the list. All right, guys, have a great day. God bless you. Bye now.